is going on, everybody? Welcome back. It is Tuesday. That means it is time for some more Underdog NBA best ball drafts. My name is Zac Graham. You may know me as Kawhi DFS. Again, here for FTN Fantasy. Less than a month until we have regular season games on our slate. 10 days or so away from preseason games, I think, at least those international ones. Getting a tag here to all the subs in the FTN NBA Discord channel. See who we've got here with us today. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a double dribble lobby here. And we're just waiting for 4. Another thing I'm going to do, as per usual, jump into the YouTube live chat and dropping the link to my free top 200 rankings. Not yet updated for the Fred VanVleet news we got yesterday. Not yet for pictures of Skinny Zion. And we are getting media day photos and quotes and clips from those teams that are going overseas in the preseason. That media day is today. So again, you can get the top 200 rankings in the live chat here on YouTube. So if you are watching over on Twitter, you can just click that YouTube link, or you can head to ftnfantasy.com and find those under the NBA tab. Also, while we're waiting for 2 more, if you're just joining us for the first time, or if you've been lurking, around these parts for a while and you haven't signed up yet at Underdog, you can do so. And when you do, you download the app, right? Or you go on desktop as I am right now. When you sign up, you use promo code FTN. And that's going to give you this deal that Underdog has now for new customers. All you have to do is play $5 and you'll get $50 in bonus funds, which is good for a few double dribble drafts here. As we did see, the bounce pass, I believe, was the title of the $3.20 max tournament that Underdog put out probably 2 months ago now. That filled last week, just like our double dribble draft did just now. So we'll see where we're at. Looks like we've got pick 7. See UNC in here, not missing his Tuesday live drafts. I bet you got to be under 30 drafts remaining now, UNC. And of course, as per usual, Chris landing a top 3 spot. You see Maddie in there as well, got the 6, so that's no fun for me. Anybody else in here that we recognize? I don't think so, but if you are tuned in and you're in this draft, go ahead and jump in the chat. So I think the first thing that we need to talk about is Fred VanVleet. Tore his ACL, you assume basketball activities, right? But that is just such a gut punch to the Rockets. And you guys know me, I'm Mr. Spurs down here in Central Texas, so it's probably good news for the playoff chances for my favorite team, but you just hate to see that. Because if there's one position that Houston's not super deep at least in terms of proven assets, it is in their backcourt. Because once Fred goes down, I think Amen Thompson, right, is you hope he takes that step this year and is able to play the one effectively. But we've yet to see that. And we've yet to see Reed Shepherd be able to play real NBA rotation minutes. I don't have much doubt that he can. But there's just an extra level of uncertainty now with this team. And it sucks because they've done Stone has done such a good job, I think, of building this roster. You take the swing on Kevin Durant, you give up on Jalen Green. Which, again, I don't hate for where this team is at. You bring in Dorian Finney-Smith. That's a great signing for this team, assuming full health. But now, it's Amen Thompson, it's Reed Shepherd. Aaron Holiday? Gonna need big leaps from Amon and Reed there. And obviously, Reed Shepard will jump up a ton in the ranks. And again, if you're new around these parts here for best ball season, as we're on the clock, Paolo is going to be my pick. I got no problem with Anthony Edwards there. But I'm going Paolo fairly consistently here in that 6-7 range. See UNC in here saying, yes, under 30 drafts left now. So much Amon and Shepard. Yeah, I mean, that's, I've got a lot of the slow drafts going right now too, Chris. And anywhere where it's like, 100, I don't know, I think if I'm in the hundreds, I think it's maybe worth taking a shot on Reed Shepard now. But yeah, just brutal news. So we're getting to the turn here. UNC grabbed Giannis at 2. Maddie grabbed Cade. Bias. I'm also fine taking Cade there. I've got Paolo 6, Cade 7. Those guys are almost interchangeable. We're coming back around. Şengün goes at 11, at 111. I don't think it's crazy to move him up either now. The ball's just going to be in everybody's hands there in Houston a little bit more with no Fred. So we've got Paolo in tow here, and we're on deck. Could go LeBron. You could get a Kevin Durant here, maybe at 18, because there goes LeBron. I don't have a lot of Karl Anthony Towns. I actually think I got my first 2 shares in the last week since we were here last Tuesday. With that news, man, again, like, it's not like for like at the position, but I'll go KD. Another guy who can play the point. Like, you can put KD at the 1 for small stretches. But that is like, there doesn't seem to be a clear-cut answer, at least in my eyes right now, for Houston and how to replace Fred VanVleet. The Lunch Table Legend in here. It's a new name, I think. Good to see you. Asking for Yahoo paid leagues, right? So we're thinking season long here. Do you recommend or prefer categories or head-to-head? I like head-to-head better. And even like this, I think this is just super DFS brained probably. But I like the leagues where you can just play with fantasy points. And you head to head that way. But if you're just looking, right, I don't think Yahoo offers that season long for the paid public leagues. Head to head is my preference. Good to see you in here right around lunchtime. The Lunch Table Legend. Josh Giddey went at 211 to UNC. He grabs Cooper Flagg. On the turn there at 3-2. Some strong teams up top. Right, the 101 has Jokic, J-Dub, Spider. Chris with Giannis, Giddey, Flagg. Then Wemby, Harden, Franz Wagner. UNC, since I know you're in here and in this draft, maybe Maddie, if you're, in a place where you can join the chat as well. Getting back to aspiration. And because there's been at least one episode released of Pablo, right? As this is going to be Jalen Brunson at 31 feels pretty good. Any of those guards there, that's such a good guard tier, in my opinion. Interesting that De'Aaron Fox going before Jalen Brunson at pick 29 overall. It's a great guard tier, though. Fox, Brunson, Ja, LaMelo, Steph, Maxey. Let's go back to the board here. But, I mean, we talked about last week in terms of Kawhi and aspiration and the whole Clippers ordeal here. just not taking Kawhi at this point anywhere close to where his ADP was, the last 2 weeks since that story dropped. But it also feels like there may not be resolution there in terms of like punishments, right? Where you think the nuclear option would include potentially voiding that contract. I don't think that's coming before the season. So, like, I guess all that to pose this question to anybody tuned in here and able to be in the live chat. Where are you comfortable taking Kawhi Leonard? Assuming he falls. Like, how far is, well, okay, I'll pull the trigger. And I guess conversely, are you bumping up other Clippers? Harden, right? First guy that comes to mind. John Collins, maybe if you're thinking, forwards, wings. Brad Beal. So I think for me, as we're on deck here in round 4, and Chet would have been the pick there for me. He goes at 41 overall, excuse me. And like of Zion, Triple J, Joel Embiid, Triple J is certainly, we're thinking about just in historical context, none of those guys are beacons of health, or staying on the court rather. Triple J the safest, I think, of those. I might be lagging a little bit here, so hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me. Hopefully it's not affecting the stream. But man, I guess I'm buying into the picture. Like, we get a picture of Skinny Zion an hour ago, and now I'm here grabbing shares. The UNC saying so. Yeah, let's get back to the Clippers talk here as we're going around the 4-5 turn. UNC says, had 0 Kawhi before the news, will have 0 Kawhi this year, slightly boosting the others to get some exposure just in case things break early. Think something has to happen soon. Yeah, I just don't, in the way Silver has handled this, like tripping over his words, and not just with the aspiration thing, right? The whole, I'll call it a blunder to say whether he meant to have his words perceived as they were or not. Clearly he didn't think it was going to blow back on him like that. But to just say that, we're a highlight league, so it's okay if you can't, to suggest that it's okay if you don't watch the games because you can catch the highlights on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. It feels like to me he's going to let this play out with the law firm that's investigating it. And that could take months. So, I'll break with you, Chris. Like, I'm going to take some Kawhis if he's in like the 80s. Like right now. Like if he drops to pick 80 something here, like I'll scoop him up. Because it's, what if nothing happens to him? What if he's allowed to play the whole season? Then you're still dealing with a guy that doesn't play a ton, right? As we're back on the clock here, 1-2-1 build, and Jamal Murray sitting right there. And that feels pretty good. We did get, right, if you're looking at my ranks here on the screen or on FTN Fantasy, Darius Garland would be the next guard in line after Jamal Murray there. And we get the news this morning from, I think it was Altman, right, who said no timetable for return yet for Darius Garland. We might have that news here. Yeah, 3 hours ago. Here you go. Altman said Tuesday Garland remains without a timetable return to action, but he is doing on-court activities and will be limited to start training camp. Again, we expected him to miss a couple weeks to start the season here, but if Darius Garland returns to 85, even 90% of what he's been for the majority of his career, I still think we're getting a pretty good value here. Going right around pick 70. So latter parts of the 6th round, that feels pretty good. So on that 4-5 turn, you saw Chris pick up Desmond Bane at 47 overall, then Jalen Duren at 50, who is also like, maybe Duren is probably the last big that I feel okay about being like my big one, so to speak. Because then you're getting into the Vooch, the Jared Allen, right? Alex Sarr going at 59 there. See what everybody's got in terms of bigs here. There's a team with two. There's two teams with two. Three teams with two. Maddie got Towns Mobley early. And then ETJ in the 11 and the 12 spot both have two bigs so far. And we're in the hole here for our 6th round pick, 2-2-1 build. I don't have a ton of Knicks exposure here, so getting 2 in the first 6 rounds is a little irregular for me. But McCall Bridges and Josh Hart, the top 2 wings left, top 2 overall, based on my ranks as we're on the clock here. And I have a ton of Darius Garland. I've got a good bit of Cam Thomas at this point as well. So I'm going to go with Bridges. And I think we heard from Coach Brown this morning, because that's another team, right, that's playing international preseason games. Undecided on his 5th starter. Lunch Table Legends chiming in again saying Desmond Bane feels like a great pick at his ADP and in the Orlando system. I agree. Like, first of all, the price they paid to get him in there, he's going to be a huge part of it. And I don't think it's like much of a usage downgrade, because Desmond Bane was producing on a team that has John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. So I'm totally with you there, Lunch Table. And he's also, right, Orlando's one of those teams with 22 games in the playoff rounds. So I have a good bit of Desmond Bane as well. Also saying Cam Johnson in the Nuggets system should return solid value. Yeah, and let's just sort by the wings here. I've got him like right behind Bobby Portis, you can see on the screen there. Right, got my rankings imported into Underdog. Right between Bobby Portis and Ace Bailey. We are coming back up on the clock here. OG Anunoby at the top, so we're not going to take a third Nick here, especially with no more Tibbs. Maybe a second big, but I'm not in love with those guys. I don't have a ton of Steph Castle. I think I'm going to jump down, get my third guard here. Because in terms of Spurs backcourt, Dylan Harper has been the guy that I've got the most of between Fox and Castle and Harper, even though we expect Harper to come off the bench at least to start the season. I think with Cam Johnson, right, I've got him about 10 spots behind Christian Brown. He's like a okay kind of filler type of option where he's being drafted for me. It's like I'd rather go a Bobby Portis, right? If Giannis sits, then like Bobby Portis could be a week winner, right? A round winner in a playoff scenario in one of these tournaments. A lot has to happen. A lot has to go right for a guy like Cam Johnson to get into your starting lineup. But ETJ, I think, agrees with the Lunch Table Legend. Cam Johnson goes 83rd overall before Christian Brown. Maybe ETJ is the Lunch Table Legend. The 7-8 turn here. We've got a 3-3-1 build. Maddie in the 6 spot, 3-2-2. UNC in the 2 spot, 3-3-1. Buzelis, of course, an IQ to UNC on the 6-7 turn. Maddie picked up Josh Hart, right after we grabbed McCall Bridges, and then Jordan Poole just before me. Jordan Poole would have been my pick over Steph Castle there in the 7th. After this pick, let's see if we've got any real craziness going on in this room. Let's take a peek. 2. Okay. Kevin Porter Jr. goes at pick 89. So on the clock for my 8th round pick here. Love Jaden Ivey at this spot. I also like Donovan Clingan a lot at this spot. There are a ton of bigs left that I feel okay with, though. So I'm going to take Ivy. And we'll see what happens with the bigs as we come around into the 9th round. Maddie on the clock with the 3-3-2. A resident Pistons fan. And Maddie goes Bobby Portis. I like that pick there. Especially needing a forward. Or a wing, rather. Here we go. Maddie says, was on a work call. So was catching up at 2x. Excited to draft Jordan Poole since Looney won't be setting it. Yeah, so that was another media day tidbit in the last hour. The Jordan Poole. Excited to reunite with Kevon Looney. Because I think he said something to the effect of, like, nobody has sent me a good pick since Kevon Looney, since he was on the Warriors. I'm like, all right, buddy. That's right. We're targeting our second big coming around here in the middle of the 9th round. Definitely a threat that UNC would think UNC is going to take a big here, either at 8-11 or at 9-2 with just Duren in tow. Takes John Collins, getting a Clippers share there. Oh, and Reed Shepherd at 98. Okay. So UNC also waiting on second big. So Kawhi ended up going at pick 57 in this draft. Just trying to take notes on the drafts I've been doing the last couple weeks on where people are taking that leap. That's still too early for me. And there goes Clingan. That is the big that I would have loved to pair with Zion here. But we've got a big tier of bigs here in terms of my rankings. It will be Jakob Poeltl here for me. And we keep things pushing through round 9. There goes Porzingis. So 2 teams now with 3 bigs in tow. 3 teams with 3 bigs. 3 teams with 1 big. UNC says, Reed Shepherd wasn't going to make it back. Wanted Clingan, but plenty of other bigs available. Fair. I would have grabbed Shepherd probably round 10. No issue with him going in round 9, but I was going to grab one of those bigs there. Lunch Table Legend saying, do you have a website or link to where you provide info? You mentioned Orlando has 22 playoff games. Is that available through content you've created? Yeah, so I did a breakdown of the playoff rounds and which teams you should give a little boost to because of their playoff round schedules. That's in the Best Ball Diary series. That's only for FTN Fantasy subscribers. But my top 200 rankings are free on the site, and I just dropped those into the chat for you, Lunch Table Legend, and anybody else that's looking for those to get their best ball journey started here this preseason. We're under a month till the regular season tips off. No problem, my friend. Glad to have you here. So a run of bigs after I went Poeltl. Tingus Pingus goes before Onyeka Okongwu. Not crazy at all. Keontae George. Khalil Ware goes. Then CJ McCollum. And we're into round 10. Jaden McDaniels, that's somebody I don't think I have a single share of quite yet. Bajemski, Nick Claxton. And we're in the hole here for our 10th pick. 4-3-2 build so far. Definitely not upset about getting a Mark Williams or a Naz Reid here. But there's a D'Angelo Russell. There's a Jalen Suggs. Right? Fine getting 2 Orlando guys on a roster. Cam Whitmore went. See if Whitmore was going to be my pick on the wing there if he had made it through. So we're going to go Mark Williams here. This is, even with Malawatch there in Phoenix, this is, to me, the Mark Williams job to lose here. And if you've been with us for multiple seasons in these preseason drafts, you know I'm a sucker for a little Mark Williams in the triple digits. Hasn't worked out great the last 2 years. Norm Powell, Naz Reid, D'Angelo Russell. Norm Powell, another guy we should talk about in the context of the Tyler Hero injury, right? I believe he had a procedure this week. See what's like the latest, if there's anything from today or yesterday. Because the foot surgery was 6 to 8 weeks, I think. They expected 8 weeks. So missing like a month of the season, then another week or 2 to get back in shape, return to play. Definitely a boost for a guy like Norm Powell. UNC, Tari Eason, Zach Edey. Some things never change. We love the Tari. We're back on deck here, 4-3-3. And not a lot of attractive wing options here, again, based on my ranks. Koulibaly, who's also injured, right? Thumb injury, I believe. Ligament issue from Eurobasket. Yep, 11 days ago underwent that procedure. And I've got some great guards in tow here already, right? With the 4-3-3 build. So at pick 127, I have a couple of shares of the injured Kyrie Irving. And I will get another one here. So I think my Brunson, Murray, Castle, Ivy can hold it down until Kyrie Irving, right? I think they're thinking like January kind of return timeline. I don't know if that's really been established yet with Kyrie, but ACL in March. Should be back sometime in January, maybe December, in the absolute best case scenario. Okay, looks like we've got 2 hours ago. Kyrie Irving, quote, ahead of schedule in ACL recovery. Sources told the Dallas Hoops Journal. No official timetable for his return. But with this roster construction, you feel okay taking a shot on Kyrie there. But we really got to bolster the wings here down the stretch, so we'll see what we can do in these double-digit rounds. Let's check in on everybody else. Since Maddie took Bobby Portis, he got Aaron Gordon at 102. Norm Powell, we talked about at 115. Brad Beal, 126, right before I grabbed that Kyrie share. After Kyrie, Kyle Kuzma, VJ Edgecombe, PJ Washington, Bub Carrington, Dylan Harper. A lot of young guards going here in round 11. We're into round 12. News is ramping up. Love it. Yeah, man. We talked about it last Tuesday, right? That we were going to have media days today. Playing out pretty well for us. Wait till next week, man. We will be in the thick of it. Because it's media days, I think, is next Monday. for the other 25 teams. We've got 5 teams media day today. Yegor Demin goes at 134. We talked about last week, right, that Yegor Demin was right my highest owned guy, I think. Or no, that was Jarris Walker, but Demin was number 2. Apparently, he's been dealing with plantar fascia issues since Summer League. But it was added in media day today that expected to be ready for the start of the season. But like maybe that's a little bit of the reason why, as we're back up on the clock here. And with that thought, right, getting a Washington guy here, Bilal Coulibaly, not a great point per minute type of fantasy asset, but one guy that may not be shut down if the Wizards are tanking it at the end of the year. Gonna play big minutes there. So we'll take the injured Coulibaly. And we hope that your Paolo, KD, McCall Bridges can, again, keep things steady till Coulibaly comes back and really enhances the team. Not a ton of difference for me from a Coulibaly, a Nesmith, a Klay Thompson in that area, right? A Herb Jones. Herb Jones, very similar to Coulibaly. Big minutes, not a great fantasy producer in terms of like your point per minute stats. Coming up here on the 12-13 turn with Chris on deck, he's got a 4-5-2 build. And on the clock now, Aaron Nesmith, of course, went to Maddie right after I took Coulibaly. Cynthia Aldama, 142. So UNC grabs his third big. Isaiah Hartenstein at 143. Feels like pretty good value there. It's like 4 straight guards for the 1 slot. Trey Johnson, TJ McConnell, Drew Holiday, DeJounte Murray. Murray, another guy in the same kind of bucket as Kyrie Irving, right? The long-term injury. But his being the Achilles. Like I know 2-ish weeks ago, DJ Murray put out some clips of him dunking. Landing very gingerly, as we should expect with a guy who tore his Achilles in January. But in the 13th round, I do not hate that at all, especially as your 6th guard. All right, I know where I'm going here if Maddie doesn't snipe me. I'm going to reach down my ranks a little bit and try to grab this guy. Dennis Schroeder goes. So I am, especially since I'm trying to load up on more Nemiush Keita, more Chris Boucher, this absolutely barren Boston front court. Those are 2 guys that are good fantasy producers. Right? Like, who do they have in the front court besides that? Boucher, Keita, Luka Garza, right? Garza is a completely, for me, an acceptable 16th round pick. Xavier Tillman is there. Josh Minot. I think both of those Boston guys are going to climb up the ranks a little bit by Friday's update. Again, if you're new here, right? Lunch Table Legend, finding the ranks and everything here at FTN Fantasy. My top 200 here for Underdog is updated every Friday leading up to the start of the NBA season. Every other week, our subscribers get a Best Ball Diary strategy article. Working on this week's right now. We're going to talk a little bit about roster construction, some of the tiers that I see in ADP right now on Underdog. And if you're season long, right, Lunch Table Legend coming in asking, I believe that was your first question, right, asking about the Yahoo paid public leagues. I do have head-to-head points league rankings. There's a top 150 on the site right now as well. I can go grab that link for you if you're interested. Those season-long ranks will get an update next week after everybody's got media day. But these are the ranks from I think about a week and a half ago was the last, the 10th. So almost 2 weeks ago now was that top 150 got updated. We're back on deck here. In round 14, so a 5-5-3 build with 3 picks to go. You guys know I love Jarris Walker, trying to stop taking so many shares. I think I will add another share of Jeremiah Fears here. So I've got the wait and see on Kyrie from the Dallas side of things, and I've got the rookie who's ready to go on the Pels side of things with Jeremiah Fears. So my friends, we are 9 days away. 9 days away from the first preseason game, I believe. October 2nd, Abu Dhabi games. Then the next day we get the Melbourne series, which is the Pelicans going down under to take on some of those NBL teams. You know, when we're all wrapped up in NFL in August, right, leading into the beginning of September, which really makes the NBA sneak up on a lot of us. Another thing we do cover here at FTN Fantasy in the NBA Discord is preseason DFS, which we're all certainly looking forward to. So 2 picks to go here on the clock in round 15, 6-5-3 build. Not a lot left in terms of the wings. And why not, man? 4 big builds are certainly not my favorite. But taking the chance on Zion right around ADP. More often than not, his seasons from a fantasy perspective have crashed and burned. So grabbing Keita as a 4th big, along with Mark Williams, who's got Malawatch there, that is a tank situation in all likelihood in Phoenix. Jakob Poeltl, they have enough. I mean, you draft Colin Murray-Boyles, they have all of the pieces to go small against teams for longer stretches. So again, 4 big builds, not my favorite, but in this case, I feel okay with it. But it is going to be 6-5-4 right now. We got to grab another wing, especially with one of our 5 wings currently injured with Koulibaly. Let's see, UNC already looking ahead, said the next room was 10 and 12 and already started. So UNC already in another draft. See if you're going to dual screen here or not, or dual draft. We'll jump into that second one after we recap this one finishing up here in round 16. Good to see Phil in here saying preseason DFS is the best. Yeah, man. Summer League, preseason. I was very disappointed that we did not have Eurobasket DFS. As small as those contests can be, right? But the tournament was great. Congrats to Turkey. Congrats to Greece, right? 3rd place game. Congrats to the Germans. Medaling again. And for the Germans to last 2 years or 3 years, right? You win the World Cup. Little bit of a disappointment at the Olympics getting 4th. But then following those 2 major tournaments up with the Eurobasket win. It's impressive. They have an impressive program there. All right, so Middleton and Koulibaly. I don't know if I like that. This is going to be a Jalen with a Y. Jalen Williams from OKC for me is the pick. But Danny Wolf, another kind of tank situation type of guy there for potential playoff round games. Bryce Sensabaugh if you're getting into some of those Jazz guys, right? We'll close it out with Jalen Williams with a Y. As UNC also closed it out, 6-6-3 build, a little bit more conventional there, right on the wing for Chris. Giannis, Flag, Modest Buzelis as usual. That's like a scientific constant that UNC is going to get his guy there. John Collins, Tari Eason, Ron Holland, and grabbing a fourth big there, Jay Huff at 191. I like the upside there. So his four bigs, Jalen Duren, Zach Edey, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Jay Huff. Similar team construction for us there, I think, Chris. And the guards were Giddey, Bain, IQ, Reed Shepard, Davion Mitchell, and Keyshawn George. Davion, another guy, right, that you have to mention in the hero talk. Oh, Hugo. We are back, my friend. Good to see you. We will jump into that next room. Let's go ahead and do that now. Just look through. Right, mine was 6-6-4. We talked about the four bigs on the wings: Paolo, KD, McCall Bridges, Koulibaly, Boucher, and Jalen with a Y. Williams. That backcourt: Brunson, Jamal Murray, Steph Castle, Jaden Ivey, Kyrie Irving, and Jeremiah Fears. Maddie was 6-7-3 out of the 6 slot. Cade, Tyler Hero, Jordan Poole, Brad Beal, Dennis Schroeder, Jordan Clarkson in round 16 is pretty good value. Just 3 bigs: Towns, Mobley, Yves Macy, and then on the wing, Trey Murphy, Josh Hart, Bobby Portis, Aaron Gordon, Norman Powell, Aaron Nesmith, and Jaime Jaquez Jr. It's a good first draft of the day, my friends. Let's jump into a second draft room here. Waiting on 8, so we may be waiting a little bit here. But if you want to join in on this draft, go ahead and get into this draft room. Just waiting on 8 people to get this started. And another good time to remind you that you can sign up at Underdog Fantasy using the promo code FTN. You play your first $5, you'll get $50 in bonus funds. Right, so you can download the mobile app. You can sign up right here on desktop, just like I'm using here for our drafts. Still waiting on 7. But you sign up at Underdog, promo code FTN. You play your $5, you get those bonus funds, you come join some of these drafts with us. Well, as we're waiting on 7 more folks to join here. Double dribble draft, 23.2% filled here. So again, these are going to start picking up with each passing week headed to the beginning of the regular season. So get in there. You can see I've got 83 to go. So a little bit behind Chris's pace there. And you can see all the slow drafts that I've got rolling there. Right, slow drafts, not my favorite, but also useful if you don't have the time to sit through 150 live drafts, or in my case, 170, getting in that bounce pass. And if they run another bounce pass, I will do 20 more. Maddie's saying, not sure if we talked about it yet, but how do we feel about the jump Amin has taken with the Fred news? So that is a good point. We talked about the Fred news off the top, but again, that is the news of the week, especially from a best ball perspective, where it's not just important for a team with a lot of good fantasy assets, your Amin, your KD, your Şengün, right, Tari Eason off the bench. But Houston is one of those 2 teams with 23 playoff games, or in the playoff rounds, rather. I don't hate it at all. I think I touched on the fact that I assume in my ranks as, kind of work on those throughout the week with, or rather taking into account ADP shifts that I see in my drafts, the news of the week, right? And that's going to come fast and furious here. So I'm not putting out new rankings every single day. But as I work towards that Friday update, I do think that those Houston guys are going to take a tick up, right? So I think before the news, I was slightly higher. So I had Amin at 20, right? Maybe I moved him. Let me make sure I'm not talking out of my ass here. Okay, so he was at 20 on Friday, and KD 16. So those guys hadn't moved in my ranks. I was already ahead of the field on KD, and I was ahead of the field slightly on Thompson before the news. So I got no problem moving him up a couple slots there. Because the ceiling outcome is, right, he can't, He's going to play massive minutes either way. Ime's still there. Ime's going to run his guys. But if Amen Thompson can take the leap that wasn't expected of him this year, right? Like, we were not thinking Amen Thompson's going to come in and be the one this season running the offense. We saw it last year. We saw it in his rookie year, right? He's not there yet. Last we saw him. But if he's able to legitimately run this offense for the majority of the regular season, then I think there's a case to taking him like top of the second round. And clearly he's going in drafts just about that high with the ADP bump we've seen. And Şengün climbing even higher. I don't know how much I'm going to move Şengün up just with the nature of the big position. Like, where he's at, I'm fine taking him when he falls to me. And if I don't get him, I don't think I'm that beat up about it. Because again, that, like, if I'm shifting the conversation to Şengün, like, we talked about this tier of bigs here, but late third, early fourth for Mobley, Holmgren. Again, I'm lower on Bam. I think year over year, I'm always kind of lower on Bam than the field. Not by much, but I'm not getting a ton. So we're just waiting on 6 here, everybody. Zion, Triple J, Joel Embiid. I mean, over the last 2 weeks, I've drafted some teams, like a Jokic 1, Embiid 5th round. And like, what if you get 60 games out of Embiid? Even 55 games out of Embiid, anywhere close to what we know as Joel Embiid as a fantasy asset. And that could, I mean, you could be hitting a serious ceiling there. If a Zion works out, if an Embiid works out. Again, I feel great about Jaren Jackson with Desmond Bane out of there. Yeah, you should feel good about Triple J even if Bane was still there. And I guess to pose a question back to you, Maddie, if you're still hanging around the chat, how are you approaching Reed Shepherd? Because we saw Chris take him, what was it, like right in the 90s, low 90s, I think, overall last draft. How high is too high for you on Reed Shepherd? Like, I don't think I'm taking Reed Shepherd like double again. Like, Chris took him at, I think it was like round 9, pick 2 last draft. And if you don't think he's going to come back to you, then I'm fine taking him in the 90s. That's fine at this point. But I think ideally you're getting him still in the hundreds overall. Because I don't think he's the favorite to start the season as their starting one. It's probably Aaron Holiday. But the preseason is long. I could be eating those words in 2 weeks. Only 5 to go here, everybody, before we get our second draft of the afternoon underway. So I assume Hugo is in here waiting with us in this room. If you are still around the chat, Hugo, how are things in DFW? How you feeling? Cooper Flag in the mix. Right? Kyrie will be back. Hopefully the brow stays healthy. How we feeling? Let me know. Maddie chiming back in saying, in general, I'm not enthused about Reed Shepherd. I just don't know if he can consistently score against NBA defenders. I think that's totally fair. And like, not necessarily because we have a huge sample of it. We don't. And I think the majority of the regular season games where we saw Reed play real minutes, right, which was what he got like 2 starts last year at the end. 3 starts, but both 2 in April, 1 in May. He was fine in those games, but again, like one was a 30-point loss, one was a 27-point loss. I mean, at the beginning of March, 31 and a half minutes in a start, 25, 2 and 5 with 3 stocks, 10 of 17 from the floor. I think for me with Shepherd, I don't think he's going to come in here and be an all-star or anything like that, but I'm always somebody that puts, I think, more stock than the average person into a guy's G League performances. Because the G League is, in my opinion, the third league in the world in terms of overall talent. Like the Euro League, right, is a conglomerate of all of the leagues in Europe, it's like Champions League, basically. But that's the second best league. If you can go into the G League and produce at a young age, like I think you're going to be fine in the NBA. It's not indicative of, again, being like an all NBA type of player. And Reed did not play a ton in the G League last year. Like it was just about as small of a sample size. Thomas Bryant has signed with the Cavs, 1-year deal. So there's some more news on the draft stream here on our Tuesday. And Maddie said, probably my Pistons bias since Ron Holland made Reed's life hell in their summer league matchup. Maybe. Another guy I have a ton of shares of late is Ron Holland. But Shepherd, all that talk about the G League. His 3 starts in the G League last year, 35 minutes a game. Shot 47, 41, 100. Again, he only took 9 free throws in those 3 games, but 31 points, 5 boards, 7 assists, 3 stocks in 35 minutes per game. I think he's going to be just fine. But again, I think we are on the same wavelength there in terms of like we're not going crazy to reach for him. I think right still in the double-digit picks there. And Hugo said, Cowboys suck. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think my team is that much better, dude. I thought Pittsburgh should have lost by multiple scores to New England the other day. But we'll keep it NBA focused here. Love Cooper. Hate that Nico is going to benefit from his blind luck. He knew it the whole time. Glad to see you still bleed black and silver with the Castle ranking over Kawhi. It's just I'm worried about Kawhi's availability, man. Like, and that's something that you can say every year, but it's just a new twist this year where it's not just the degenerative knee condition that could and will keep him out of, like, he's not playing fucking back-to-backs, and he'll probably disappear for 3 or 4 weeks at one point this season. But now, like, that is a real non-zero chance that his contract gets voided. Because of all the stuff, like all the dots that Pablo seems to be connecting, right? Allegedly, all of these things that he has uncovered. It would not shock me if ownership and executives around the league really band together to push for maximum punishment here. And like, I don't want much of a part of Kawhi where he's being drafted, right? And before the aspiration news, I was pretty much taking him at ADP. Had him ranked, I want to say, like mid to high 40s. League can't afford to validate the matter. It won't happen. Clippers aren't the only team that does this. Right, but they're the team that got caught. And that matters. Like, that's the same thing, right, that was said around the Joe Smith stuff years ago. And we're not the only teams that do it. Yeah, you're the ones that got caught, though. right? And in the Joe Smith stuff, so we're still waiting for 4. Everybody, go ahead and jump in there if you're just hanging out. Yeah, I'm talking. Yes, I'm talking Joe Smith. They took 5 firsts from the Timberwolves there. They voided Joe Smith's contract. Now, that's a very different contract than the one Kawhi's on. But what school did Joe Smith go to? Oh, man, no. You know I'm not college guy. Well, small college guy, but I'm not the D1 guy. Man, I don't... Michigan? I do not know. And I won't Google it. I'll let you tell me. But like getting back to the UNC's got it. Terrapins. At least I assume that's the right answer coming in there. Matter of fact, blunt. Yep. UNC for the win. But getting back to the punishment, man, I'm not saying it's likely, but it is it's a significant, anything like 10% is a significant chance that the league brings the hammer. Right? With Joe Smith, you void the contract, you get a fine, you get 5 firsts taken from you, and you know who doesn't have 5 firsts? So what do you do? Again, I don't think Kawhi's contract being voided is the most likely outcome, but I'm nervous enough to just I'll pass on Kawhi. Where he's being taken, or anywhere close to it. Also, I disagree that I should know where Joe Smith went. Why should I know where Joe Smith went to college? I'm not a college basketball guy. D1. What do? You pretend that it was all a bunch of speculation and everything is on the up and up? You mean the league? Yeah, but if this was Major League Soccer, and yes, I'm invoking MLS here, Hugo. Sue me. If this was Major League Soccer where all of the teams, like where it is single entity league, all of the teams are owned by the league, then you can do this. Which is kind of what MLS did with Blaise Matuidi 5-6 years ago with Inter Miami. But like this is not, you should know where every number 1 pick is from. I couldn't even tell you where every number 1 pick was from the last 15 years, dude. Much less Joe Smith. But no, I don't think pretending it was speculation and everything is on the up and up is gonna fly here with the other 29. But we'll see. Again, and I think I was saying this potentially before you jumped in about the whole aspiration thing. It's just like it could take so long. Like I'm not shocked if it's Christmas and we don't have resolution on it. You would think, like as Chris kind of brought up earlier, that like you would think they would have to do or say something more official soon, but I don't think I think Silver may be completely content to say, we have this law firm investigating it, and when they finish with their investigation, we'll take our next steps. I think it's exactly because of the other 29 that it's going to go away. They're all doing it. Are they? This way? Because again, like I'm not going to sit here, and I know you won't sit there and say that Dirk Nowitzki didn't get some sort of benefit from Cubes and the organization, either during or after his playing career. And there was most likely for Dirk and most likely for Tim Duncan doing something similar there down the stretch of his career. I think that happened much more and over a longer period of time for Dirk and the Mavs. Look, I'm not saying he's not. Dirk is great. Dirk is the greatest. Yeah, not exactly the same way, but they're definitely doing it. Nobody is covering up a full max 5th year. The 5th year max that he gave up by leaving Toronto. 49 million. That's exactly what he got paid. 48 million by aspiration, right? 28 million in cash, 20 million in stock. Nobody else is doing that. And the team that I think, right, would be closest, and Pablo has hinted at this, right, is Jalen Brunson. I 100% would believe a story about that. Jalen Brunson taking less and getting it back under the table by other means, or in and around the Knicks organization. I believe it. But even if, let's say, all 29 other teams have some form of financial reward that could be seen as cap circumvention, none of them are getting caught. And this certainly seemed like just a tiny little thread hanging down from this that Pablo just tugged on a little bit and it all came out. And that's part of why your guy, right, Cubes, was so defensive. Again, like putting reckless speculation time. But like, my first reaction when Cubes was so defensive was just like, okay, well, it's because you did it right. You did not get caught. And that's why you're going to Pablo saying there's no way Steve Ballmer could be this stupid. New York money, gonna New York money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Look, allegedly, all of it. But if you're asking me for who I think would be, or who is the one that I would accuse next, would be the Knicks. Yeah, Bing Bong is right. More like cha-ching. 3 people till we get this draft underway. And don't think I didn't see this, Chris. What's going on in your other draft that you got going? Drafting the winning lineup right now. Okay, so you took Modest in like the 5th, right? What else you got? Give us the play-by-play while we wait here on the sidelines for ours to start. We also should get, what's the deadline for the restricted guys to sign? The 28th? Because thinking about Kuminga. Let's see if we can find the deadline. It's October 1st deadline, so that's next Wednesday. For those not in the know, October 1st, the deadline for Jonathan Kuminga and any other restricted free agents that are still outstanding to accept or decline the qualifying offer. And we know, right, that will, whatever happens there, when that is resolved, that you'll get Al Horford. I believe D'Anthony Melton going to re-sign there with the Dubs. And then it was DC posted this morning from Mark Stein. Horford, Seth Curry, Gary Payton II will re-sign, and D'Anthony Melton once Jonathan Kuminga's situation resolves. 2 more people here in our draft, or to get us started here in our second draft. So if you're hanging out, jump in there. Get a little draft in at lunchtime. Get your NBA preseason started right. I do wonder what Kawhi's career would have been like if Uncle Dennis just did not exist. And if we're still talking about aspiration, I also think, right, you see sometimes those memes that people post as like a apology form, right? And we're filled up here, so we'll see in a second. Where are we at? It's going to be a 9-set. UNC, who does Chris know at Underdog? Literally always in the top 3. Oh, in the other draft that you're doing, you get the 6th spot. Okay. Only with me, top 3 every time. Maddie in there at 6. Hugo at 7. I'm at 9. Kanik in there at 11. Good to see you, buddy. A little bit of a tougher room here now, getting some more friends in. And if anybody else is tuned in right now and you jumped in and I don't recognize your username, feel free. Jump in the YouTube live chat and let us know you're here. So in that other draft, from the 6th spot, Cade, Jalen Green, Kobe White, Reed Shepard, Dylan Harper, Davion Mitchell. Wings, Amin Thompson, Franz, Osser, Thompson twin team. I'm a fan. Ben Mathurin, Tumani Kamara, and then just Kling and Edey as the bigs. You're still going, right? That's 6-5-2 so far. Okay. So I assume you'll add another big, another wing, and then somebody else. It's a good start. Or not even a start. That's a good majority of a team there. Jokic off the board first to UNC. And we're rolling here. Again, every Tuesday, y'all, we're here live drafting some Underdog Fantasy NBA best ball teams. You can do at least 2 every Tuesday. And hopefully, right, it feels like every preseason we have one just like marathon stream. We get 3 or 4 drafts in. It's going to be a fun month. It's always a great time in the preseason here. Hey, there's Weisberg. You're not in this draft, right, Mike? Yeah, I feel like... Yeah, not in this one. Okay. So Jokic, Giannis, Wemby, Luka. Chalk so far, if you're asking me. Few days off from drafting. Where are you at in terms of your 150? I haven't seen anybody beating Chris yet with less than 30 remaining for him. So he's over 120 drafts and has done, this is his 3rd one today with us. So Chris did the first draft with us, jumped into another one as the first one was winding down, and then got into the one we're in as well. Maddie gets his guy, gets Cade there. Hugo goes Paolo. I think I'm going to be getting a big here. We'll see what Matt Cooper 14 wants to do at the 8th slot. I'll gladly take Ant if he wants to go big. Let's see. Another guy that is rising up in ADP a little bit here at the end of the first is Trae Young. It's now up to 10.5 in terms of his ADP. Give me the brow. I don't think you can go wrong with Davis or Sabonis there. You at 9, 10, 11, that range in the first round. Let's see what we got here. Weisberg said 30 total, 10 bounce pass, 20 double dribble. All live, I assume. That's one thing I was talking about earlier is like I know some folks are pretty averse to the slow draft style. I kind of have to do slow drafts trying to get to 150. I do not have the time or really the patience to do 150 plus live drafts. Chris now trying to keep it one per day if you can. I mean, yeah, if you do that, you're coming in right around opening day, right? Or opening night. Not all live. Gotcha. Thinking you might get to 40. Yeah. Hey, look at Alex Blickel in here. We had an Embiid conversation earlier, and very happy to circle back on that. I've got him in the mid 40s. I have him at 39, Alex, in my ranks. ADP 45. Again, like, usually I'm able to get Embiid as we're back on the clock here. It is going to be Scotty Barnes for me. I've usually been able to I don't think I've taken Embiid at 39 where I have him ranked. It's consistently in the mid to late 40s. And maybe that is right at 45.3 in terms of his ADP. Maybe that is creeping up a little bit from where it has been, but he's been an auto click for me. Unless I already, like, I have experimented with some of those builds where you take your 2 elite bigs early and then just roll from there with no other bigs, just keep it at 2. That's the only time where I wouldn't take Embiid past his ADP right now. Because there's just, even if you get 55 games out of him at 85% of what he was when we last saw him healthy, like, that was like base MVP Embiid, right? Or 1 or 2 in the voting for how many years there? Like, and right now, like, before we get more concrete news and we're able to see him maybe play a preseason game or 2, like, if you get any positive news out of the Embiid situation right now, any positive status update, he's gonna jump up 10 spots. See, Hugo says, I really didn't want to take Paolo because I almost hate getting stuck with double wings to start a draft. Interesting. I love starting double wing. Of course, it depends on, right, where you're drafting, who falls to you, but I still think wings are, like, the elite wings are, I would rather stack up 2 elite wings than 2 elite guards, right? With your second guard in that case being a Devin Booker, right? A Donovan Mitchell, a James Harden, guys like that. Weisberg says, Şengün Amin, have pun intended, rocketed up as the draft season has progressed. Yeah, it's the first thing we talked about today, and it's, again, that is the conversation of the week, is the VanVleet injury and what that does. Towns at 18 feels like a steal. Yeah, and Towns is a guy that I haven't, as I was saying in the first draft, like, I just got my first couple shares of him over the last week. He's just, again, this tier that's coming up with your Bam, Mobley, Chet, Zion, Triple J, Embiid. I have a lot more from that tier than the Şengün Towns tier. Didn't have to go double wing to start. Agree. Alex said, yeah, it feels like a lot. Yeah, I think that a Christian McCaffrey comp in terms of how, like, quote unquote safe you feel about, like, the high risk rating, right? I guess we could say on both of those guys in draft season. And that the field is too confident that he won't play enough. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I think we're in lockstep there on Joel, where, like, the hate has gone a little bit too far, right? Last season, we were taking the shot on him in the mid to late second, and now it's the 4th or 5th round. I mean, I have a lot of LaMelo. So I know I just took Jalen Brunson in the last draft, but Brunson at 33, I will once again snap up a Jalen Brunson share here. Now this is going to be interesting at the 3-4 turn. So Mr. Fisher goes Fox. So I might be this might be one of those two big builds that we end up with here through 4 rounds. This LaMelo, I mean, Kinnick with Trey, Şengün, LaMelo start. I love it. And same really with the 12 spot here for Josh Eyes. Jalen, LeBron, Chet, DeMar. I mean, tough spot there. I mean, with the lack of guards left. So going to DeRozan, you know, don't hate that. On deck here with the 1-1-1 build. And look, I'm going to do it. I took Zion last time at the spot, and for those who were not tuned into the first draft of the day, of these 3 bigs rather that I have back to back with Zion, Triple J, Embiid. To me, Triple J is, I think, pretty clearly the safest guy. And a higher upside than we've seen on him before, I think, with Bane out of town. But I'm going to take the shot here on Embiid just because we were discussing him. So we're not just going to talk about it today. We're going to be about it and take Joel Embiid at pick 40. So through 4 rounds here, Brunson, Scotty Barnes, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid. Feeling okay about that. See what else we got going on in the chat. Who took flag early? Where'd he go? Oh, UNC. Oh, that's the same. I mean, last time UNC went Giannis Giddey flag, so it was our buddy Chris who took flag at 25 overall. He took him at 26 last draft. It's another guy, speaking of those bigs, and I know we talked about this last Tuesday, but I'm going to bring it up again. I have, I think, 1 share of Zubac through like 70 drafts. I think last year was phenomenal, right? He was a league winner where you got him right around triple digits last year, I think, right? And I think it was Chris who was drafting him in like the 80s. I think we're drafting him at his ceiling now, and I think the ceiling outcome is a much tougher ask for Zubac this year because of the additions that the Clippers made. Specifically in the front court. John Collins, Brooke Lopez. Like these are options, both of those guys. They did not have anybody like that back. I mean, it was Kai was there last year. It's one of the guys in this 4th, 5th round range that I'm lowest on relative to the field, relative to ADP, is Zubac. Weisberg said 25 a bit early for flag for him, like 27 to 35. Don't have a lot of Cooper flags so far, just don't trust him yet, which I think is fair. But I would also think, and Chris may have hasn't chimed in yet on that, as he goes Desmond Bane, Jimmy Butler at the 4-5 turn. I think, and Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, I think his thinking there on Cooper Flag is he'd probably prefer him in the 27 to 35 range, but wasn't going to fall past there. For what it's worth for me, I would take Jalen Johnson at that spot. Still available as he was in this draft. But, you know, I think that's kind of just reading the board. I'm getting my guys that I want that are definitely not coming back to me. Point flag soon? That's a thought, yeah. Yeah, you won't be able to get flagged to Ips. Okay. I don't know if I fully agree with that. I mean, is there... We just added to the backcourt last week, right? Dennis Smith coming back to Dallas. Not that Dennis Smith is going to take minutes from Cooper Flag, but they have done nothing but add guards in the absence of Kyrie Irving. Bringing in D'Lo, bringing in DSJ. You've still got Brandon Williams there, right? You still got Jaden Hardy in the mix. Exum is still there, I believe, as I'm on deck here. and a huge tier by my rankings of forwards here. And to get Julius Randle at 57, thank you. I'd like to thank the draft room for my Julius Randle at 57. Let me catch up here. Went weird and did a double Orlando wing. Why not? Did you go Franz Paolo? It's the only one you could have done, right? At this point. Where are you at? Yeah, Franz Paolo, Dyson. I don't hate that at all, man. I mean, again, Orlando's one of those 22 playoff round teams. Especially if you're getting anywhere close to 100, 150 drafts. Got to switch things up sometimes. So by ADP, going to be a little bit of a reach here if I go guard to Garland or Cam Thomas or Jordan Poole. Right, Shaden Sharp would be in that mix too if we're just narrowing it down to guards. But I'll go ahead and add, as Kawhi goes at pick 63 here. Still a little bit early for me. We'll go Garland. And again, we know Garland's going to miss some time or expected to miss some time at the beginning of the year, but will begin training camp. He's already doing on-court activities. So through 6 rounds here, Brunson, Garland, Barnes, Randall, Davis, Embiid. Shaping up nicely so far. Matty grabs Sar. Love the Sar. I loaded up on so much Sar early in draft season. So Matty with Cade, Booker, Jalen Johnson, Brandon Miller, Jamal Murray, Alex Sar. That is a fantastic start. And Hugo getting Cam Thomas to pair with Dyson Daniels. I like that in the backcourt. Ooh, Chris, suck it. No modest for you. Gallagher out of nowhere. Saving you from yourself. You got to have 50% modest. Mike saying, Knicks will play faster from everything I've heard during media day today. Largest owned wing, highest owned wing so far, Trey Murphy. It's the guy I've taken the biggest stand on exposure-wise. Yeah, not like that's a Trey Murphy is a guy I think the field is higher on than I am. But I don't hate that at all. How crazy would it have been if I went 3 Orlando my first 4 picks? That feels like overkill. How many times are Paolo, Franz, and Desmond Bane going to make it into your top 6 in a scoring period? I mean, they could. It just feels like you're limiting your ceiling a little bit there with your early picks. Point flag. More casuals, preseason games, he will soar. Yeah, you might be right. I don't see the path to a ton of preseason point flag. Maybe, though. You have been right, and I have been wrong on things in these streams before. That's another benefit of having these, to me, and I'm biased. I'm sitting here on stream talking to you all. But another benefit, I think, of having these lengthy streams with a group of folks interested in drafting and talking strategy is, being able to check yourself at times. And take in new information, not necessarily all from, your news sources, right? Other guys who pay attention to the league, or other folks who pay attention to the league, draft a lot, and give you their insight. Let's see. Those guys are wing heavy at the turn. We'll go ahead and just take a Shaden Sharp here. We'll stick to the rankings there, and we just took a Steph Castle share last time. Okay, here we go. Kingfish, good to see you in here. New to NBA Best Ball. what are some general things to know before I draft? Well, you have access to a free top 200 list of rankings here specific to Underdog Fantasy. I'll post that link here in the chat again for you. So those rankings, that top 200 list, updated every Friday leading up to the NBA season here. That's free at ftnfantasy.com. If you are an FTN Fantasy subscriber, Kingfish, every other week you get my Best Ball Diary articles. So there will be a new one of those here this Friday. Again, those are behind the paywall. But see if I can get this link up here for you. Here's the link to the Best Ball Diary article from about 10 days ago. So if you're a subscriber, you can see that. So in that last Best Ball Diary article, we focused a little bit or more so on the rules of the game, of the tournaments. We talked about the playoff round schedules for each team and how we want to use those as an additional factor in the ranks, in our decision making, in the live draft process. But of course, if you're here on the streams, Kingfish, more than happy to discuss different strategies, thoughts, any of that stuff. ADP shifts that we're seeing. That's the point of these streams. That's why we love it. Oh, we're going to pair the old guys here. I think I'm going to go Paul George and Joel Embiid. All right. I feel like I'm certainly lagging here on the screen share. Let me catch back up. I see Weisberg in the chat going back and forth with Kingfish there. Appreciate you, Mike. Thought Castle might fall to me at great value. Let's pull up the board here and see what's going on with everybody else. Right, Hugo in the 7th slot right behind Maddie. Yeah, Castle almost got back to you there. Nice Klingon pick at 90. Your first big was Towns Klingon. I like that. It was Mr. Fisher grabbing Steph Castle at 87. And Maddie, is that the Ivy Cade? Woo! Look at that guard pool. Cade, Booker, Jamal Murray, Jordan Poole, Jaden Ivey. You certainly have the Pistons backcourt covered, my friend. And Chris coming up for his 8th and 9th picks on deck. Yeah, you're telling me. One of them has to do something, right? Yeah, Maddie saying done with guards for the draft. That was on the tip of my tongue, but don't want to push somebody in what I think is the right direction when we're competing directly against each other. If you want to take some more guards, I'll let you. Boy, the top end of the draft, you guys, bigs and wings until UNC finally goes scoot there. Look at that. Coming through the middle of round 9 here. UNC 3-4-2 build, Maddie 5-2-1, Hugo 3-3-2, matching my 3-3-2. And then we don't forget about Kinnick down there in the 11 hole. 2-4-2 through the first 8 rounds. Now, by my ranks, the top wing left on the board is Jonathan Kuminga. And he goes to Maddie there. And the one thing I was going to say is, of course, Maddie's going to take him with just 2 wings on board till that pick. But for our fantasy purposes, we want him to get traded, right? Let's see here. On the clock at pick 9-9. I have a lot of Malik Monk. And there's a playoff boost there between he and CJ McCollum. So I will pick up McCollum in the guard slot. Then we'll bring it around the 9-10 turn here. Kinnick on the clock. Can't imagine a scenario where both Embiid and Paul George miss the majority of the season. That would be, a unique outcome, right? That would really break from the norm for those guys. And I think, like, on a serious note, with an Embiid team, especially because I paired another guy who is the beacon of health in Anthony Davis, right? You can't. I think it's fine to leave this as a too big build. Again, trusting that those guys stay healthy through the majority of the year. But I think it's fine to take a third big later in the draft with this build. Just because of the context around the two names that are already on the team. 3 bigs in the first 9. I'm done. I have a plan. Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing as we're back on the clock here. And we do get to double up. Like, Norman Powell makes some sense there now, too, right? We were talking about the hero injury in the last draft. But I'm going to double up on Wizards here. CJ McCollum in the 9th. Cam Whitmore in the 10th. So we're 4-4-2 through 10 rounds here. And Hugo on deck. But in last week's drafts, we had a couple folks that were, anonymous drafters in the rooms with us, who had taken 3 bigs within the first 6 rounds. And that's just malpractice with managing your team. To me, you're drawing dead at that point, right? Because I know a lot of you in the chat or listening to the stream right now are veterans of the best ball game, right? But for those who don't know, only 2 of your bigs can be a part of your top 6 scorers, right? Because every scoring period is 2 guards, 2 wings, a big, and a flex. So if you're taking 3 bigs in the first 6 picks, you're selecting somebody who you already have somebody on your roster who cannot score in every given scoring period. So I know this is not a message for Hugo, but maybe a Kingfish, right, who's new to the best ball game. Do not take 3 bigs in your first 6 picks because one of those bigs will be out of your lineup every single week. So let's see. Kuminga's not getting traded till mid-season. Very hard to trade him now. Yeah. One guy to watch. Yeah, so one guy to watch getting traded with the Fred news. Watch for Tari Eason. And, I was reading a little bit more about the Fred situation yesterday after that news broke, right? I think it's not confirmed but implied that he had a no-trade clause in the new contract, too, because he had one in the previous deal. Yeah, I mean, they got to do something. It feels like. But again, maybe that doesn't come similar to, like you said, for different reasons, but maybe similar to what you said about Kuminga not being traded right off the rip here. Maybe Houston waits a little bit. Reed Shepherd 117 in this draft, who I'm sure would, UNC at 120 would have scooped him up happily there. And Norm Powell at 121 feels pretty good. We keep letting you get away with this, Chris. With my spot, Weisberg with Khalil Ware. He was on the tip of my tongue, but I don't with Davis and Embiid, if I'm getting a third big, I'm going to do it later. Responding to a work email, and it auto-picked Russell for you. Well, now you got 6 guards. And technically, you didn't pick it. Or him. Cover 4 Orlando players. You got Suggs, too? Yeah, okay, now you got 3. If you're going to take 3 Magic guys, or 3 from any team, better to space them out. Better to get Suggs where you did in the 11th, rather than Desmond Bane in the 5th. Oh, and my ass was just on the clock. First one of the preseason streams for me. There's at least one every preseason. Run in my mouth, auto pick. We're fine with Pajemski there, though. And I will say that's another, like, I would not sit here and pretend that, right, especially if you're doing 100, 150 of these drafts, you probably have your own set of rankings set up in Underdog, or if you're drafting on another platform. But get those ranks in there, because if you are sitting there with your friends, or you're on the stream, or you're responding to a work email, you might auto pick something. And if you have your rankings in there, it's much less likely to be a player that you don't want with that auto pick. I know who I want here, but I feel like Mr. Fisher is going to get him from me. And he did not. Filipowski. I'll take Khan here. Give me the rookie. We got Koulibaly last draft. We'll take Khan Kneppel. Feeling pretty solid about this team so far. Again, we can go back to the board. See what could have been. You know, Pods may have been the pick there, because it's following my rankings. But I would have had a decision. Like, I have some Pajemski shares. Edgecombe is interesting to me there. Beal is interesting there. I don't have a ton of Pippen Jr. And I have a shitload of Dylan Harper. A lot of Dylan Harper in the late 130s. Again, my ranks, I think Harper 118, I think, in my ranks. Let's see. I like D'Lo. Yeah, so I think, and Chris may be right with the flag at the 1 talk, but I think D'Lo is a perfectly fine pick where we can get him now. So again, I have different thoughts about D'Angelo Russell from an actual basketball perspective than I do from a fantasy perspective. I think he's the one in Dallas until January, till Kyrie's ready to come back and play starting minutes. And that's a nice complementary piece in the double-digit rounds for your best ball backcourt. Oh, yeah, you talking Harper? Dude, I have a lot of Dylan Harper. Jarris Walker's still my highest owned guy, but I do have a lot of Dylan Harper. Similar to Head, right? I had a bunch of Chris Paul last year from that Spurs backcourt. We were taking Stephon Castle shares as well. And to me, Harper, even, Fox is there. Castle's going to start. That's the backcourt for the beginning of the year. Those two, Vassell, Barnes, Wemby. But again, Dylan Harper in half of the drafts the last decade would be the number 1 pick. To be able to get him at 135, 140-ish is fantastic value, I think. And again, I guess we should mention we're talking about Hero missing time at the start of the year, Garland missing time at the start of the year, Koulibaly now with the thumb injury. Also a thumb issue with Dylan Harper. He's expected to, I think, miss the first week or 2 of the season. But where you're drafting him, you're not expecting him to score for you in the first couple weeks of the season. So I am not concerned about that from a best ball perspective. Atari wants to get paid. I'll put it that way. It's the Kuminga situation on a lower level, but it's a real thing. Yeah. And also, if you're trying to fortify that backcourt now with no Fred, what are your pieces to trade from Houston? Outside of Tari, right? Like Reed Shepard, but I don't think I wouldn't move on from him just yet. I guess it depends on the return there, but all right, we're back on the clock here. Don't miss another pick. I think I'll take some Jared McCain here. It's my 6th guard. Excuse me. This draft is going to end at a key time for me because I'm running out of water here. And when you sit here and you run your mouth for almost 2 hours, you get a little parched. Let's see how it gets. So Hugo going into a meeting. We'll see how that goes for him. And Mike saying, no, Tatum's doing a press run today. He's not playing. Yeah. He's not playing. And what he said today, he said, I wouldn't be working out like I am 6 days a week if I wasn't planning on playing. Even if he did come and play a couple games at the end of the year, limited minutes, that's not helping you in best ball. So continue to ignore JT. I'm with you. And very excited about, didn't he have let's see. I don't want to miss this other pick here, Mike. So we'll get back to the JT momentarily. I'm fine to take a Jeremy Sohan here. He would be my next highest ranked player left. Next highest ranked wing, which is a place I want to go with the 6.52 so far. And Sohan, Boucher. I've been leaning more Boucher lately. Just until Boston brings somebody else into that front court, man. All right, so to JT, and you talking about the recovery time frame or the mood around the recovery. Wasn't it like he went and got the surgery within 24 hours of the actual injury? And some of that is why they think he can recover maybe more fully than average. I think there's a better way to maybe say that, but been taking a lot of Boucher, to be honest. Yeah, I mean him and Keita. We were talking about that during the first draft, where it's who else plays the big minutes? Which is another reason why the other name I brought up is Luka Garza. Taking Luka Garza in the 16th as your 3rd big if you need one, your 4th big if you need one, in a build like that. I don't hate taking the 16th round shot on Garza. Yeah, got the procedure that night. Yeah. And I think that's why some of the words, the murmurs out of the Boston camp is that did have a positive effect on the recovery, or so they think. UNC on the clock here. Jeremy Grant at 168. I mean, that has the upside to be such a nice complementary piece on down weeks, right? I think it's fair to say that Grant is on the backside of the career now at this point, right? But I think he's still starting at the 4 for this team. But Portland can go so many different ways here in their backcourt. I hope Scoot is starting. But are we that shocked if it's Drew on opening night? And like, does Shaedon Sharpe get into the starting five over a guy like Jeremy Grant? Certainly a camp lineup battle to watch there. UNC after Grant went Walter Clayton, like that, as a 15th round shot at guard. So 7.62 for UNC, 6.53 for Maddie, 6.53 for Hugo, 6.62 for yours truly. Kinnick right now with a 5.63. Just repeat, he's recovering better than expected. I know a little more than most, but take that for what it's worth. But you're also still, just to clarify, right? You are still staunch in the stance that he is not playing this year, despite the good news coming out, simmering out of Boston there. Oh, Maddie. He said he was done with guards, not done with Pistons. Ron Holland. Would have been a nice ad there. Hugo, take Jarris Walker so I don't have to, please. Damn it. He takes Daniel Gafford. There goes Davion Mitchell. Yeah, I thought you were getting Ron. Take Jarris from me. I can't do another Jarris. I think I need another one of these guys anyways. I have so much Jeremiah Fears. We took him in the last draft. We'll take our third Wizard share. And again, Wizards, one of the 22-game playoff round teams. So now the decision is, and I'm hoping one of you takes Jarris Walker because if he's there in the 16th, it's really hard for me to pass him up. Can't take Jarris as I have Obi. I don't disagree, but I also will let you know that I have some Obi Jarris teams. Those guys can play out there together. And I think we see some weird shit from the Pacers front court as the year progresses. Because Jay Hoff is there now. Isaiah's coming back from the Achilles. Obi, Jarris, Siakam. Cedric Coward in the 15th. Must be a Memphis guy there. Still interested to see what he can do. Obviously, we did not see Cedric at Summer League. So going to be either a wing or a big for me here. Oh, Kinnick. Take Jarris. Take him. Get him out of here. Ryan Dunn. Come on. Oh, man. Well, as we're about to be on the clock here, see if Mr. Fisher maybe takes Jarris Walker off our hands here. At big, though, JV right here, especially with Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid. If there's any sort of Jokic injury, if Jokic is rested down the stretch, as we've seen him do, or we've seen that happen to him at times. Oh, you bastards. Come on. I'll do it. If I was going to take a big here, I am going to take Jarris Walker because Jarris Walker at pick 184. I know that's his ADP right now. I have him 30 spots above that in my ranks. And I just can't pass him up in the 16th. But JV would be a pick here. I love Derek Queen as a 16th round big. Right, you can see him in my ranks 3 spots above Young Hansen. Derek Queen could be a monster for best ball in those playoff rounds if the Pelicans crash and burn like I think they're going to again. So we finish or I should say, I finished my second draft here 7-7-2. Guards: Brunson, Garland, Shaden Sharp, CJ McCollum, Brandon Pajemski, Jared McCain, and Keyshawn George. Wings: Scotty Barnes, Julius Randle, Paul George, Cam Whitmore, Con Kneppel, Chris Boucher, Jarris Walker. And then just the two bigs. Stay healthy, my friends, Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid. And leaving for me, I'll take him. Well, I didn't see it in time, Hugo. And took Danny Wolf, perfectly fine 16th round pick there. So UNC, of course, at the one spot again. Jokic and Ayton. Then in his backcourt, Giddey, Desmond Bain, Scoot Henderson, Trey Johnson, Quentin Grimes, Colin Sexton, Walter Clayton. And then waiting to finish out here. Maybe get a third big. 6 wings in tow right now. Jeremy Grant, Norm Powell, Cam Johnson, Ben Mathurin, Jimmy Butler, and Cooper Flagg, who we had a nice discussion about in the chat. Maddie 673, Cade, Booker, Jamal Murray, Jordan Poole, Jaden Ivey, and D'Lo. 3 bigs are Misi, Ware, and Sar. Is that 2 Misis for you today, Maddie? 7 wings: Jalen Johnson, Brandon Miller, Kuminga, Neesmith, Oubre, Ron Holland, and Bryce Sensabaugh. Hugo, first draft of the year? First draft with us, for sure. Out of the 7 slot there, Paolo, Franz, Miles Bridges, Obi, Sohan, Danny Wolf on the wing, the 6 guards, Dyson Daniels, Cam Thomas, IQ, Malik Monk, Jalen Suggs, Dylan Harper, and his 4 bigs, Gafford, Towns, Klingon, and Pirtle. And then Kinnick, the last of our friends in this draft room 6-7-3 build. In the backcourt, Trae Young, LaMelo, Devin Vassell, Brad Beal, Ty Jerome, Ayo Dosunmu, his 3 bigs, Nemiush Keita, Rudy Gobert, Alperen Şengün. Strong team here for the guards and bigs. On the wings, Denny Avdia, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, Ace Bailey, Jabari Smith Jr., PJ Washington, Ryan Dunn. Good draft, everybody. Good 2 drafts, almost 2 hours here on our Tuesday. Again, as we're kind of heading out the door here and shutting things down for today, just a reminder, we're here every Tuesday doing some Underdog for NBA basketball drafts. Every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, between now and the beginning of the season. You can always find my top 200 best ball rankings for Underdog for free throughout the preseason at FTN Fantasy. Those are updated every Friday. FTN Fantasy subscribers get the Best Ball Diary articles, right? Talking best ball strategy bi-weekly. Those are for subscribers only. And if you are playing some season long as well, you've got a top 150 head-to-head rankings list that's updated every couple of weeks as well during the preseason. You can always reach out to me on socials at Kawhisenberg DFS at Twitter, on Twitter and Blue Sky. And of course, all of the FTN Fantasy subscribers can always tag me in the FTN Discord channel with any and all of your NBA questions. And Hugo saying, what about Fridays? We're Tuesdays this year, my friend. That is the programming schedule here. A lot of football content on Fridays. So, right, I know you're around. We're gearing up for our NFL weekends on Fridays, Tuesdays this preseason for our best ball streams. So I appreciate all of you tuning in, sticking with me here on our September 23rd edition of the Best Ball live streams. I'm back next Tuesday, same time, same place. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. I'll do the same. I'll see you back here next week. Goodbye.